Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for a Q&A on the Business Builder Funding Awards. As a reminder, applications are open and they will remain open until April 7th. This webinar slash Q&A is really an opportunity for you all to ask any questions about the applications as you go through them or about the program itself. We'll begin with a couple of slides just to go over eligibility and the program itself, as well as some recurring questions that we've gotten so far about the program. With that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Janice Sproul, who's the project director for the Northeast Regional Food Business Center.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And as Max has said, if you are not aware, applications did open for the Business Builder Award this past Monday, February 24th. There will be 4 information sessions. One of them, this is the first one, and so there will be 3 more in the next 3 weeks. Applications will close on April 7th. And then we anticipate to make the announcement of sub-awards sometime in July, with projects starting in August. There are 3 funding tracks. The first and second are for small businesses, and this will be for businesses whose gross annual revenue is less than $350,000 a year. Track 3 will be more for the small and mid-size businesses. So you're looking at up to $1 million in gross annual revenue. The other differences that you're seeing, track 1 is specifically for equipment, and with an award range from $25,000 to $50,000. It will also include any associated training or installation and general maintenance of that particular equipment. Track 2 is more business development. So if you are needing technical assistance, some financial assistance, or not financial assistance, but financial literacy type to help your business and increase your operational capacity in that way, then track 2 would be for you. Again, if you are in that small size business. That ranges from $15,000 to $25,000. And then track 3 is kind of a combination of both of them. Again, it goes up to those businesses who are already making up to $1 million. And this is really talking about true expansion. You've got a nice project that you are proposing. You are trying to add to your product offerings. You are doing value-added products. It will also include the special purpose equipment. And so this award can be from $50,000 up to $100,000. Now, just so you know, the $100,000 is the max for Business Builder Awards. So if you are applying for $100,000 at this point, you will not be able to, and you receive it, that's one and done, okay? For some of these businesses who are applying for track 1 and 2 that do not go up to that $100,000, you can apply again in subsequent rounds. And then you do have up to 24 months to complete your project. So. All right. Some unallowable expenses include the purchasing of land, buildings, or real estate. Construction, demolition, or major rehabilitation of any building, structure, or land is also not allowable. General purpose or non-specialized equipment, such as office furnishings, motor vehicles, including tractors, trucks, or trailers, are not allowable, as well as production-related costs. And I'm talking about pre-harvest production. So everything we're talking about for Business Builder will be post-farm gate, or if you're in the seafood industry, landing, and it will go all the way through retail. So anything such as fertilizer, seeds, again, that pre-harvest production input. All right, some resources to help you apply, and you can follow the QR code if you would like. Webinar recording, we have the pre-recorded webinar that was available last Monday when the application was launched, and as well as all of these information sessions. The request for application is on our website. There's an application checklist to help you prepare as you go into our grant management, our application portal, so that you can kind of see what is needed prior to. You will need to obtain a unique entity identifier. This is through sam.gov. There are directions on our website, as well as in the RFA. There's a link there and a YouTube video if you are unsure how to do that. If you do not have a if you do not have a UEI at this point, you must show us by the time you submit your application that you are in process of receiving that. The scoring rubric is available, a list of frequently asked questions, which we receive a lot from these calls, and so a lot of these will be added to them. I see them popping up in the chat now, but information sessions, I mentioned that one already. USDA AMS Regional Food Business Centers program, as well as the AMS terms and conditions, are going to be very important, and some background information for you, as well as knowing what is going to be allowable from a USDA standpoint, which we have to uphold. The community hub, if you need technical assistance and you're looking for a particular organization that can provide some services, you can follow our community hub and get to that directory. If you have general inquiries, please email northeastrfbc@nasda.org. And then please subscribe to our Regional Food Business Center newsletter so that you can be notified of updated or upcoming announcements. So, thanks.
Great, thank you, Jana. And before we move on to my colleague Jade Umberger answering some of these commonly asked questions, I just want to note, thank you for the questions in the chat so far. We'll be going through a couple of the most commonly questions that we've received so far, and then we'll go and move on to these questions from the chat. So if you do have any questions that you'd like us to answer, please put that in the chat, or when we have an open forum, you're also welcome to raise your hand. And just one other note, this session is being recorded and it will be made available on our website on the Business Builder webpage. So if we do answer a question, or if you hear something and want to come back to it, there will be a link to this recording after today's session. So with that, I'd like to invite my colleague Jade Umberger to answer some of these most commonly received questions.
Thanks, Max. And yeah, we're getting some great ones in the chat. Excited to get to these. For this Q&A, before we open up the floor, we have some more frequently asked questions. So what are the differences between the three tracks? Jana kind of went through this in the beginning of this session, but we've got three tracks. The first is for special purpose equipment only. And again, that's post-harvest equipment. The second one is for business development, so things that aren't tangible, but things that you can pay someone to help you get training, get succession planning, different analyses of product development, or consumer information. And then the third one is for both of those together. And so that's special purpose equipment and development of your business. And that would be maybe a bigger project because that's up to $100,000. So those are the three differences between the tracks. And we can get into that a little bit more if anyone has any further questions. The second question here is, Can I use a business builder grant to improve my farming operations? For example, planting, cultivating. So we cannot use this funding on anything that's pre-harvest. So I saw a question in here about a greenhouse. Because a greenhouse is production related, we will not be able to fund that. We can fund storage after you have picked the carrot or after you have harvested the tomato and need storage. We can use funding for that. We can use funding for any sort of processing equipment, any sort of training or development to help you build your business, as long as it's not specifically funding production related expenses. So no seeds, no shovels, no tractors. Can I receive an upfront payment for the award? We are doing reimbursement only. So the base for these payments are for subawardees to front that payment, and then they apply for reimbursement with us. So they would put their invoice in, prove to us that they've spent the money, and then they would get reimbursed. What are some examples of items and activities that are eligible for funding? So I went through a couple of these, but let's do some more. I'm gonna maybe go through. Rosemary asked, are delivery vehicles allowed? Yes. So refrigerated vans, vans to take your produce or take your fish or your anything that you've harvested to the consumer. Yes, those are allowed. It can't be just a regular pickup truck. It does have to be specifically a delivery van. But yes, delivery vehicles are allowed. Just seeing what else. Flower operations are not allowable. We are doing food, human food only. So I'm sorry to say, Heather, but flower operations are not allowed to apply. Equipment purchases are not required to new equipment only. Just trying to pull a couple examples that are eligible. Funds can be used for value-added products. So this is a good question. So uh, if you are looking to expand your business, your products into maybe you harvest tomatoes, but you want to make sauce. You are allowed to apply for new processing equipment, new packaging, and packaging equipment. You can apply for any sort of thing that helps you process those tomatoes into a value-added product, as well as some marketing. So all the way from harvest, well, post-harvest, to getting that product to the store, especially for value-added products. This is kind of what this funding is used for. So yes, value-added products can apply. Website development, advertising, marketing, yes, that is all business development. So that would be in that track 2. If it's not a tangible item, it can be in track 2, business development. Poultry slaughter equipment is allowable. That's processing, yes. Handling equipment for, oh gosh, this is too long of a comment, but we will get to that one. Yes, bees, honey. So I see Kevin asked here, would a transport vehicle for bees be fundable? I would say bees themselves, no, but honey, yes, if you're transporting honey and need a delivery van. It has to be post-harvest. That was a lot of me talking on this question. There are so many things that are allowable. We're really excited, as you can tell. We can go to the next question. Some examples of businesses that are eligible, I kind of touched on this, but any business that is producing food for human consumption. Like I said, flower farms, no. But if you had some sort of business on the side that's producing food for humans, you can apply for that side of the business. So this is anything from farms that are doing post-harvest. This is processors, someone that buys from local farms or from regional producers. and processes food, value-added food maybe for human consumption. Um, Distributors, people that just take food from one place to the other, aggregators that are bringing food together to be able to sell it to retailers. Retailers themselves can be eligible. Restaurants can be eligible. Any business that is working with food, getting food to the Northeast region is eligible.
Great. And I just want to add nonprofit organizations
Yes.
are also eligible. I know we've gotten that question in the chat. So that's another eligible organization.
Yep.
Great. Well, thank you, Jade. Those were some of the questions we've gotten the most so far, but excited to dig into the questions we've gotten in the chat. And thank you, Jade, for covering a lot of these already. Again, if you have any questions, please add them to the chat now. You're also welcome to use the reaction button on Zoom to raise your hand, and you can ask questions there as well. So we'll start in order, and any of my team members, if you want to take the question, just jump in. So I know that Jade already answered the question about a greenhouse and delivery vehicles. Jefferson's comment about a UEI, I think, is very helpful. They wrote, UEI can take a little while to do. It's worth starting ASAP. So as my colleague Janice said earlier, you either have to have a UEI by the time you apply, or proof that you are in the process of obtaining one. So that could be a confirmation email from sam.gov that you've registered or you've applied. If you do have any questions about that, again, please feel free to reach out to our email. But we have a number of resources on our website to help you obtain that. So I know we answered the question about a nonprofit farm being eligible. But let's, I guess, dig into this next one, which is regarding eligibility for a nonprofit which offers a number of community-based programs, only one of which is a farm program. Is the income threshold based on the organization or the farm program?
I was trying to find my notes from when we were talking about this the other day, but it is my understanding that even if you are in are a nonprofit, you will have information on your 990, so your statement of activities, maybe statement of
Statement of financial position, Jenna.
Thank you, Allison. Yes, thank you. Please, I'll let you answer this question.
Yeah, so it should be clear on your 990 what activities are related to farming operations. And I think we would be happy to accept that, right, Jana, as proof of where your finances lie with regards to farming and food business and this opportunity specifically.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why we changed it from sales to revenue, to make it easier for nonprofits to understand that as well. Yeah, thanks, Allison.
Thank you both. The next question that we received is building an outside patio with pizza oven allowed?
This is a tricky one, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say I would need to know more information.
Yeah. So an outside patio with pizza oven. Is this for a restaurant? And I think how would this, if you are able to make a good case for how this would allow for more people to have access to regional food, perhaps. Yeah, I think I would need more information. Oh, Joan, I see your hand.
Yeah. So we have a tasting room in which we try to serve we serve our wines, but we also try to serve local food where we can. And one of the things that it's not a full-fledged kitchen that we can only serve certain things. But if we added a patio with a pizza oven out there, we could be making pizza with local ingredients on it. Um, uh, because that would the health department would approve that sort of thing. So it would be an expansion of our current sort of limited menu right now. And we would be trying to source as much as possible local foods, local tomatoes and basil, and possibly we can get the cheese and pepperoni all locally.
Yeah, I do think that because you're talking about an expansion, we cannot fund any ground moving. So like no expansion of no building.
Uh-huh.
And that I'm blanking on actual words for this, but no ground moving, no expansion of
So
buildings.
what about the pizza oven and the sort of open pit fireplace where we could grill things? Is that allowed? That's building, but it's really equipment that we're building
Yeah,
or process.
I see Jana might be wanting to add something.
Yeah.
You pretty much said what I was going to say as far as no groundbreaking. Joan, we may have to take this particular case and to USDA and verify the
Okay.
eligibility
But
there.
but it sounds like you're saying it's not going to be one of their core interests. It's
Yeah.
not. Okay. All right.
Looking
Appreciate
for
that.
sort of, I mean, we do value like depth of impact more than just like how much food you're going to produce. But
Hmm.
I think that this would be a niche project, I would say,
Hmm.
not ineligible,
Hmm.
but
Yeah. But still not your focus. It's not
yes,
your
yes.
focus. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Joan. And I saw Allison, you had your hand up. Did you have something to add for this? Or was it the
I was just going to ask Joan if she was going to be sourcing locally and you know adding to that would be strengthening farms and food businesses with you purchasing from them. So that was going to be my question, but you did say that.
Yes.
I do want to, Joan, did that answer your question?
Yes, I think it did. We try to do local sourcing as much as possible, but it's actually hard.
Yep.
It is hard, and so it requires extra effort on our part to try to achieve that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I know Jeffrey has their hand up, so if you want to unmute yourself, I don't know if this is a related question or not, but you're welcome to speak.
Yeah, good morning. Sorry, I'm legally blind. That's why I couldn't put the question in the chat. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we
Yep,
can
we can
unmute
hear
you.
you.
I'm involved in aquaculture and I have a some post-harvest equipment that totals about $10,000. Would that not qualify for track one?
Jeffrey, would you need some additional, if you were to apply for that equipment, would there be additional maintenance funds that you could request or installation funds? Any training that's related to the installation of that equipment?
Typically not because I live on Martha's Vineyard and the post-harvest would include delivery of it in insulated containers, aside from using a refrigerated van, which I applied for through the Food Security Infrastructure Grant and was rejected twice. So we're looking at alternative measures. And, back to the question, is $10,000 not sufficient to apply for track one?
It would not be, no.
Okay. And do you expect that future informational sessions will be similar to this one, aside from the more in-depth questions as applicants move along?
Yes,
Great. Thank you.
thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jeffrey. So next in the chat, we have a question from Maggie. What is the likelihood with the funding freezes that the money for this grant will be allocated? I will pass that to Jan.
Yeah, Maggie, that's a very good question. I think it's one that we are all kind of curious about. At this point, we know that USDA and the Regional Food Business Center program is moving forward. We are waiting to see what happens. I think at this, and again, at this point, this application is open now. It closes April 7th. Because we are in process, we will not be awarding anything until late summer. So that also gives us a chance to kind of evaluate where the program is going and to ensure that we have funds for our subawards.
All right, thank you, Jana. So next up, we have a question
Can I
from,
ask a follow-up question to that? I'm sorry, that was me that was asking.
yeah, go ahead.
So let's see if I remember my follow-up question. So I also was going to apply for the same, we need new cooler for our winter storage. And I was also going to apply through MDR through an FSIG grant. And it's the same problem is, will it be funded? So can I apply for can I apply for the same thing under two different grants and then just reject one of them if one comes through?
Unfortunately, I do not believe you can do that. That makes it very tricky, especially if I know it's a state program. I don't know if those state funds are USDA related, but that gets very complicated in trying to figure that out and be able to apply for the same activities, two different grants.
So as far as you know, we're just all in the same boat, basically, as you're waiting to see.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Max, can I add something real quick? Not related to that, but I wanted to make clear, because I'm not sure we were super clear at the beginning, but for the most part, the Business Builder Subaward Program will equip, of course, small and mid-sized farm and food businesses with funding to develop and amplify regional supply chains. Okay. And as far as I know, Jade touched on eligibility and listed different like aggregators, distributors. I wanted to clarify again also that it's farm and food businesses, including aquaculture and wild caught fisheries. There's not many grant programs that include both aquaculture and wild caught. So that's very important and something we're really excited about, especially with the coastline on in the Northeast. Nonprofits are also eligible. We talked about the revenue. So, and again, post-harvest activities from farm gate or landing all the way to the table. So that does include processing, value add, storage, and transportation. So I know there were some more questions about vehicles and things like that, which I think Jade covered a lot of it. So Max, I'll turn it back to you to direct the questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Jana. I know that Jade answered a question in the chat about new businesses which are eligible. So you can still be in the build out phase and acquiring some of those machinery and skills. We received another question about kind of what counts as post harvest. So I'm looking for Jade or Jenna to clarify that. So one of the questions is, would mechanical harvest equipment increase harvest efficiency count, or is that not post-harvest? And then, examples of additional water lines or, some of those expenses, would those be eligible?
Yeah, I was just typing up a response to this, but I can answer it live too. This is so cool. I didn't even know that this processing of radicchio existed. But so it seems like what you're saying, the forced production is sort of a value added. So this is after you've harvested the radicchio, you are doing something to add value to it. And so I would say that is allowable, those handling equipment, storage, and water lines, as long as the water lines aren't in the ground, because like we said, no ground moving. And then the mechanical harvest equipment would be production related, and that's not allowable. I see, Amanda, you're off mute. Did you have anything to add?
Thank you. Yeah.
Are you in a greenhouse right now?
I am in a greenhouse right now.
That's amazing.
Partially just because my kids are off of school and I need to hide from them to do this webinar. Yeah, it would be water lines to have like additional processing stations in our washroom so that we could have like two wash lines running at once instead of just one. So just to make sure I understand, like anything related to, yeah, my argument would be that it is a value added process, but it's a really poorly understood process in the United States. So I just wanted to, like, if that's what you got from what I wrote, great. That
Yep.
that's not an argument I have to push too hard.
Yep.
And yeah, so like anything getting it out of the ground is considered
Correct.
production processing. So that doesn't
Yes.
count. But once it's out of the ground, like additional storage bins for the
Yes.
cooler, additional processing stations in the washroom, anything that adds to that like washroom capacity counts
Yes,
for the secondary
absolutely.
processing. Okay,
Yep.
great. That's what I just was, the farm gate terminology is not
Yeah.
terminology I'm familiar with. So I think I was just kind of like, well, it's still on my farm. It like hasn't,
Yep.
it's not leaving the farm.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
helps? So thank you very much.
Yeah. I think we try and go back and forth from farm gate or like post harvest, but yes, anything after you've picked it out of the ground, off the vine, out of the sea, out of the water, that is allowable. And you mentioned cooler bins. We also can fund coolers. E- Even like walk-in coolers, freezers, as long as you aren't building new buildings for it. We can
Yeah.
put a cooler in a building, but can't build a building for the cooler.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think I can expand my cooler anymore
Okay.
without breaking ground. So,
Yeah.
but
I have a
yeah, the
question.
right
That's
size
generally the
bin
case.
I have
and packaging you said also counts. Like,
Yes, packaging counts.
great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, and well, I'm not on mute. I saw someone else ask this in the chat, but can you combine the two tracks? Like if I wanted packaging and like TA to make a new label, but that's like track one and track two combined, do you have to apply
Then
separately? What's the
you would apply for track 3.
okay? Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
regarding coolers, there's some walk-ins that come in a shipping container. So you don't build a new building. It's like you buy the shipping container and you have the walk-in in it. Would that be
Mhm.
eligible?
The shipping container, and Jana, correct me if I'm wrong, anything with 4 walls and a roof is a building. And so we can't fund
All
a
right.
shipping container. Yeah,
Yeah, even though it has like it comes ready with the walk-in built in.
correct.
Okay.
Jana, am I wrong? I'm seeing a face, a different.
That one I'm not positive on because we know that a refrigerated truck, that's for transport. Let's follow up on that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all on
Thanks
that
for
one.
that,
Yeah.
Becky.
Yeah.
All right, I see Tess has their hand up. Feel free to come off mute.
Thanks. Yeah, Ty, sorry. I just wanted to piggyback on what was just being talked about. Like we have a walk-in cooler that's just a standalone walk-in cooler. That's not a shipping container. So I was wondering the same thing. Excuse me, wondering the same thing. That would be fundable.
Yeah, and we can add this to the frequently asked questions on the website. Just get confirmation first and then have that up on the website. So and just an open invitation, if anyone has specific eligibility questions, feel free to reach out to us by email and we'll get you confirmation. I know it's our goal to make this process as accessible and clear as possible. Just a note to my team, we have a lot of questions in the chat, so if we could kind of do a lightning round for some of these.
Let's do it.
Dana asked for the document upload section, how much supporting data is relevant if you're not a NICRA or nonprofit applicant?
I would say if you've got documents that you think would be helpful, go ahead and add them. I think adding things to the application itself would be helpful. But if there's anything that you feel like is good supporting data, go ahead and add it in.
Great. Next question, can you do more than one track if you need a delivery truck and business planning help? I think I would defer to Jade's comment on that is where track 3 comes in handy, and that's a combination of both track 1 and track 2. The next question, Jade, I think already answered yes to website development, advertising, marketing content. That would be business development, so that would be track 2 or
But
track 3. Oh, yeah.
I do want to add, so marketing gets a little sticky. We can market specific products, but we can't fund marketing of your business in general.
Great. That is helpful. All right, next question from Karen. Are dietary supplements allowed? Mushroom farm making supplement products in small batches.
Jana, you want to take that one?
I would say no, because I would say it's not truly food for human consumption. I mean, I understand it's human consumption, but it is not not necessarily food.
Yeah, I think technically eligible, but maybe not the focus of the program.
Great. The next question we received, are mobile market trucks eligible? The answer is yes, they would be eligible. Is a wash and pack station upgrade allowable? Yes, that is one of the listed examples in the RFA, and yes, it is definitely eligible. Can we apply for multiple tracks? Rosemary asks.
Yeah, I think I would say if you are applying for both equipment and business development, I would look for that third track. Apply for that third track. So no, only apply for one track. If you need both, apply for track 3.
Great.
Joan, I see your hand raising. Oh, wait.
Yeah. So if you have a small project to buy some new equipment for after harvest processing, and it's going to produce a unique new product, and you want to also advertise that just that unique new product, but the total cost of this is going to be less than $25,000. Are you track 1, track 3?
Yeah, so we are in that first track, we are allowing for some technical assistance funding alongside an equipment purchase. So Jana, do you want to go into this a little bit deeper?
Joan, do you mind repeating the question?
Sure. So I'm thinking about buying a special piece of equipment that would allow us to make a brand new product off of our farm produce. And then once I have that new product, I would like to, advertise it a little bit, just that one product, not ourselves. We're just advertising that product as availability. But the total cost of doing both of those things would be less than 25,000. So is that track 1, track 2, or track 3?
Well, you would, if you're applying for equipment, it's going to definitely be track 1. The threshold, the minimum for track 3 is going to be 50,000. So,
Right.
You would apply for track 1.
Okay, so but it would be okay to include in track 1, say a few $1,000s worth of advertising of that unique product.
And this is where I think this is the example that Allison brought up, our partner from Buffalo Go Green, when we were planning through this. So if you are wanting to advertise the new product that the piece of equipment is doing, yes, so that's why we included the technical assistance. But it really needs to focus on the equipment itself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, the next question we received from the chat is value-added processing labor costs allowed? Yes,
You want to? Yeah, sorry.
They are eligible.
Jana, you got this one? Oh.
Yes. We are allowing labor costs for some of the tracks. And when you apply for a specific track, I know that at least track 3 will allow labor costs. I don't remember if if we're allowing that for track 1 and track 2.
All right, the next question, would processing apples to hard cider be eligible for funding for cider making equipment?
Yes.
Great. Again, yes, to upgrading or upgrading wash and pack equipment that would be eligible. And we just answered the question about value added labor costs, but packaging costs would also be part of that and be eligible. Unfortunately, no to dietary supplement products being eligible. And then, okay, we have a question. Under track 3, are the costs of consulting to obtain certification under a global food safety initiative eligible? But I think this, any certification or food safety training, would those costs be eligible?
Jana, I'm going to let you take that one.
Yeah, from a food safety standpoint, yes, because a GFS certification is a voluntary program. I want to double check on that one.
Great.
But
yeah.
like something like HACCP, for example, which is required for producing seafood, this is not required. So I need to verify. Yeah.
All right, we can get back to you, Stephanie, on that question. Startups, yes, are eligible. Is dairy included? Dairy is included, as is aquaculture and fisheries. So anything related to food consumption are eligible sectors. What about food companies that use a co-packer? So they buy local food products and then have the products processed in a local co-pack.
Absolutely. Those companies sound eligible, depending on the project, or what you're trying to purchase, that would get into allowability. But yes, food companies that use a co-packer are eligible.
Great. I understand that the award does not cover indirect costs. Would labor and marketing be considered indirect?
No,
No.
labor and marketing would be part of the grant. So we've got a line item for personnel and a line item for uh, supplies, equipment, or contracts. So if you're contracting with someone for a marketing project, that would be within the grant itself.
Great. For farms already engaging with USDA through NRCS and FSA, would a grower already have a UEI if they are enrolled with USDA, FSA, or NRCS? And is NRCS funding considered a USDA grant for the priority funds for business owners who have never in the past received direct federal grant funding?
Yes, a grower would probably already have a UEI for that, and NRCS is part of USDA. However, so if you've received grant funding, yeah, you need to consider the threshold that we've listed there.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that you cannot apply.
Great, thank you. The question from Becky about federal funding cuts, I believe Jenna already answered something related to this, but as always, we will keep you all updated either through our newsletter or through the webpage if there are any changes to the program. And as a reminder, I think in general the newsletter is useful. We'll be posting reminders of when the applications are due and reminders about when announcements about awards will be made. So the next question, we have a business that grows herbs for teas and tinctures used in cooking. Does this qualify? We would be looking to buy a packaging machine specifically for bagging teas.
I would say this project is eligible, but might not be the core focus of the program.
All right, next question is a little confused on trailer costs. Earlier slide said no trailers. We need a trailer to deliver processed foods, fruit to markets. Is that allowable?
Jana's nodding her head. Yes, that is
I'm nodding
allowable.
my head. Yes, it would be. It is allowable. I understand. There was a reason that was in there because it's considered not specialized equipment in this case, but what you're talking about here, yes, we want to again, think of the overall purpose of the project and increasing, adding to the supply chain, having an impact on what food production or food distribution in the Northeast. I'm trying to think of all my words, but yeah.
All right, next question is, if we are pre-revenue and expect revenues in the next 6 months, can we apply now? This is a cannery in Maine.
Yes, new businesses are eligible. You don't need to have like proof of revenue. You would just need that UAI number that proves you're an entity.
Great. Next question is, we are a nonprofit, but won't likely have our 2024 990 done before the grant submission is due. Can we submit our 2023 990? The answer is yes. Yeah. I think we just answered a question about food trucks. We have a custom cutting and retail market meat shop. Would we be approved for updated coolers, compressors, equipment, etc.?
Absolutely. I think, and I love tea and I love mushroom and those types of things, but this is like the opposite of that like is eligible but might not be the focus. This is eligible. Updated coolers, compressors, equipment, especially for cutting meat. So this is yes eligible and yes, please apply.
Great. All right. The next question is, a self-contained refrigerator unit for apple storage eligible?
The reason for the pause here is just because refrigerators can be tricky. If you're not building a building or moving dirt, then it should be eligible.
This conflicts with something you said a few minutes ago. You said if like I had asked about, it's basically a standalone refrigerator freezer unit that like is just delivered in a container. So we're not building a building and we're not moving dirt, but you said because it has 4 walls and a roof, it would not be eligible.
And this is the one that we will confirm.
Okay.
Thanks, Becky.
Great. And just as a reminder, we will be updating the FAQ after today's session, so a lot of these questions you'll see the answers to for everyone. So the next question, the RFA says that we'll be prioritizing individual business and owners who have never previously received direct USDA grants of more than 25,000. Do you exclude farms that have received more than this threshold? So no, we're not excluding them. This is just a prioritization, but I would encourage you to look at the scoring rubric, which is on the webpage, so you can see kind of what we will be scoring on. And there are certainly other elements to the review of your application. I see Jade answer the next question. To follow up on the nonprofit organization versus program question, if the program is new or not evident on completed 990s, would financial statements be acceptable as evidence of program revenue?
Is Allison still on here? She's got more experience there.
Yes. Yeah, I would say yes, because
Okay.
the 990s lag, and so it would make perfect sense that there would be a program related to this that's not reflected there. So Jana, I would think if we could get some type of financial support that it would work.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, next question from Andrew regarding honey. Is processing equipment used for extraction, bottling, and wax melting allowed?
Yes, this would be eligible.
Okay. And Kate asks, what's the logic for funding award? Does that link with our current revenue? Can small farms apply for more funding, more than our annual revenue?
Okay. Your current revenue just is indicative of your business size. So depending on what track you're applying for would be the funding allowance, the minimum and maximum. So track 1, I believe, is 25K to 50K. Track 2 is 15,000 to 25,000. I don't have it right in front of me. And then track 3 is 50,000 to 100,000.
Great. All right. The next question is, can funds be used for staff time to run these facilities? And a related question, does staff time include time of business owners?
Yes, The funding can be used for staff time, for project-related time that staff is using, and can include business owners.
Great, thanks, Jade. All right, the next question we received, can these awards be used as a match for other grants? So for example, a later grant that requires a 50% match that could involve a larger scope of a project.
No, we cannot use we can't use these awards to match other grants. This funding has to be used independently of any other grant.
Amelia asks, if I apply for track 2, can I apply for track 1 later? I think I can take this if so we would recommend, or you're only able to apply for one track now. However, if you do receive an award or do not receive an award, you can always come back in the second round to apply for a different track. As a reminder, you're only able to receive a maximum of 100,000 across all the funding tracks and funding rounds, but the answer would be yes. Jody asks if a dairy container for yogurt would be eligible.
Yes, if you are looking to improve your packaging, we can fund fund packaging. Yes, Jana?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. If wash pack improvements are allowed, can you give an example of what is considered a minor improvement versus major rehabilitation?
I can give a short answer to this, and then Jana, if we need to get more into the nitty-gritty. But so a minor improvement would just be setting the cooler in a space. Pouring concrete would be a major rehabilitation. Yes, so anything pouring concrete or like making space for equipment would be major rehabilitation.
Great. So there's also a question, would freestanding outdoor coolers be eligible?
This is where we're going to dig in a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. If I have some equipment and some business development, that would be track 3. Yes. What is the execution time frame for this grant?
Go ahead, Max.
I was just going to say, we anticipate making awards around July with the first reimbursements around October, and then they have to be completed within 2 years, so by 2027. Great. Does the third track have a revenue limitation of over $1 million? So yeah, Jana, you can go ahead.
Yes. So if you are, well, we defined small and mid-sized businesses, or a mid-sized business as anyone who has less than $1 million, or less, in annual gross revenue. So if you have a revenue above that, then you would not qualify.
So with track 3, getting better bookkeeping, tax help, website design, etc., that would be allowable. Yes, the answer is yes, and we will get back regarding food safety voluntary training. How many funding rounds will there be for each track? So right now we have 2 planned. The first will be planning to distribute around 10 million, and in the second round around 6 million. All right, the next question that we received, and thank you, Jade, for coming through all these, are consulting fees eligible or an allowable expense?
Yes, absolutely. If it's project specific, if it's any sort of business development, marketing analysis, yes, consulting fees are eligible.
Thanks, Jade.
One slight caveat though. You wouldn't be able to hire an architect to build a barn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so if
remember,
it's
yeah.
if it's consulting on an eligible expense or like an eligible project, so if the thing that you're trying to improve within your business is eligible in the program, you can get a consultant to help with that.
Awesome. All right. For track two, if the work needed involves packaging design for a new product, is it possible to apply for funding for the work needed to design the package and or the supply costs of the new package?
Yes.
Great.
Not for the supply
Oh,
costs. No, it would only, so track two is only for the work to design, not for the cost of the new packaging material and the new label.
All right. I'm seeing some repeat questions, so just in the interest of time, uh, can a farm partner with a nonprofit for a value-added product?
yes.
Great. The meeting will be recorded and slides will be shared. There will be a link to that on the Business Builder Subaward webpage. So again, yeah, you'll have all this information. And let me just run through some of these. If the project has phases, do you reimburse per phase or at project completion?
We will be reimbursing quarterly, which means what are our dates for that, Jana? March. What are our
Um,
quarters?
yeah, we'll use quarters like for this. If you're awarded in August, the first that quarter would technically end in September, the end of September. So and then October to December would be the next. So the first one would actually be a little short because it's just going to be easier to do it that way to manage. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, there are two questions left in the chat that I see now, three. We'll go through these really quickly. If there is a question that we've missed, feel free to stay on after. And if not, again, this recording will be made available online and we'll be updating the FAQs with some of these questions that we've gone through. So let's go through these quickly and then feel free to stay on if you have an additional question. For the equipment grants, is there a provision for inflation? If it takes over 6 months for the money to come through, prices may have gone up by then. Can that be included as a possible expense in the grant proposal that won't be used if not necessary? That is
I don't have
time.
a good answer to that.
Yeah.
I would have to say that if you have a quote for the equipment and that's what it is, then that's what we're going to reimburse, especially if that's what you pay. We can't build into the grant the possibility of that equipment going up.
And I think that kind of speaks to Dana's question about possible tariff increases. Jody's question, is it just packing or is a pasteurizer allowable?
Pasteurizer is allowable.
Okay, and then do you know the timeline for the second round of funding yet?
Before, uh, so for this program, we have until December 2027 to finish projects. And so we will likely have another round of funding around this time next year.
Great. All right. I know we're running up against time, so I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining. We'll answer some of these additional questions, so feel free to stay on the line or raise your hands. But again, on this slide right now, we have our email, so northeastrfbc@nasda.org. If you have specific eligibility questions or application questions, feel free to email us there. You can also visit the QR code, which will lead you to the application portal, the community hub, our webpage. So a lot of materials that will hopefully help you as you move through this application process. And again, we'll have 3 additional information sessions. So as you go through the application and you have any questions, feel free to join us again in 1 week on March 11th. And registration again is on our website for those sessions. So Thank you again for joining. We'll go through these last questions, and if anyone has additional, you can raise your hand. If not, have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining.
Thanks, everyone. It looks like Darylyn has their hand up.
Hi. So my computer went out when you were answering the honey harvesting one.
Yes.
So I'm sorry if I know some people in the room have heard it, but could you please repeat, if it will cover that type of equipment?
Yes.
Okay.
So, harvest as far as honey goes would be after you have
So
got the honey out of the hive, right? So, any inputs to your honey, such as bees, I admittedly am not very well versed on upkeep of apiaries, but anything that you are using to after you've harvested the honey, if you're packaging the honey, if you're selling the honey, delivering the honey, all of that counts. So post honey harvest,
Okay. And
are
then
eligible.
second one was in response to, I know you mentioned the containers and anything with four walls and a roof, but if I were to purchase, say, a vehicle, I don't know, delivery vehicle, and then make changes to that delivery vehicle on the inside to make it so that
Mm,
it's better used for delivering and whatnot, would that be covered? Or is that considered construction underneath of the grant?
I believe that would be covered. Jana,
I
confirm?
believe so too. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
Great. A couple last questions. So the grant, yes, is a reimbursement grant. And then I saw Jade, you answered, can New Jersey and Connecticut farmers apply? So this is intending to impact the entire Northeast region, regional food supply chain. So from DC all the way up to Maine. And so yes, New Jersey and Connecticut farmers are eligible to apply. I see there's a question, is reimbursement on quarterly? Does that mean October expenses only paid by December or January?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Last question, and then I see we have more hands up, so we'll get to those. We are certified naturally grown vegetable farm. Can we apply for reefer truck or van to delivery for our farm and business development like web development, content creation, and social media marketing?
Okay, so that, go ahead,
Go
Jane.
ahead, Jana.
No.
So the trucker van delivery from your farm. So if you're taking your produce, if you're taking your vegetables somewhere, yes, that delivery truck or van from your farm is eligible. Business development like business development like website development, content creation, and social media marketing, that would all be considered marketing as long as it is marketing a product and not your business. That is eligible.
Great. Thank you, Jade. All right. I know we have a couple of hands up, so I'll go in the order that I see them. Nicole, if you want to come off mute.
Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this. This was very helpful. My question would be to like a specialty crop. Would hemp be allowed? Anything with hemp seeds or grain? I have a license to produce hemp seeds, and I also have a nursery vehicle license. So just really being able to get that, and then honey as well, because we produce honey on my farm. So I would want to do something with honey and hemp. Would that be allowed?
I think that this sort of goes into that, yes, eligible. So anything after you've harvested. However, I think that this isn't like the core focus of the grant. So you can absolutely apply, but this maybe isn't moving like a ton of food, or not a ton of food, but like I think that hemp and honey are not like the core focus of the grant, if that makes sense.
So if I was to include that in addition to whatever food production, like that may be
Mm.
allowed, because
Oh
that's
yeah, yes. If there's more food than just those two things, yes. And
but I'm sorry, Jay.
uh I'm just confirming, hemp allowed, Jana?
It is an allowed food because
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
but again, like you said, technically would be eligible. Is it the focus? It just is dependent on, it's going to be dependent on the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing that I would mention, like the equipment. So generally we have to, because I work with a group of Amish and I manage, they're all licensed under my farm. I mean, under my license to grow hemp and to produce it. But generally we rent equipment to go from one farm to another. So if I needed to get a plastic layer or a cedar or something like that, would that be allowed? No?
That is production equipment. So that seems like it's pre-harvest. And so no production equipment
Pre-
is allowed.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think this sort of goes into to Mia's question down here. Are seeds considered a core crop or a value-added crop? Seeds for planting are not eligible. Seeds for human consumption can be eligible. If that answers your question, to Mia, let us know if we need to go into more
Yes,
detail.
thank you.
Yep.
Great. All right. I see Jeffrey has their hand up.
Yes, thank you, Max. A couple of quick questions, and thank you for continuing this on. I was questioning about track one with some post-harvest equipment, and the question I had earlier was that it only came up to 10,000 roughly. If I were to get more equipment, not of the same, but post-harvest equipment, to get to $26,000 of various equipment, would that qualify?
Yes, Jeffrey, that would qualify. You don't have to request just one piece of equipment.
Okay, and my second question is, because of my disability, is there anybody on the call today that would be willing to provide a phone number to talk directly with me regarding a question? Because of accessibility on some of these governmental websites is almost impossible for me.
Yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely. I think
I'm ready.
yeah. Okay. Let me look it up. My phone number is 1-571
571
418
418
0383.
0383. And your name again?
My name is Jade.
Thank you, Jade.
Jeffrey, did you have any additional questions?
No, thank you so much for the informational session.
Great.
Thanks for your questions, Jeffrey.
All right. I see Jody has their hand up as well. And while we're waiting on Jody, I see Harry put a question in the chat. We are expecting our orchard crop in 5 years. Is there any problem applying for processing equipment now?
Overall, while that would be eligible, was it Harry? I'm sorry. I would say again that what we're looking to do is fund businesses to help and to expand their capacity now. So within 2 years to complete the project, because you would have to show impact, you would have to show there will be metrics and things that will be measured. And so, yeah, there's a problem for applying now if you don't have the product to produce.
And I see Jody is off mute now, so feel free to go ahead.
So Jeffrey kind of had the same question because I would be looking for a cream separator and a pasteurizer. I didn't know if I could combine equipment.
Yep. Put them
Okay.
together. Yeah.
So on the container end of it, if it's put on wheels, like I have a movable dairy right now that I put together. If I put the plant on wheels too, and bought a trailer, like a car trailer, is that eligible?
I have heard that livestock or that mobile slaughter facilities. So yes, they would be eligible. So that a mobile dairy would also be.
That's another thing I'm trying to put together for our region is a mobile slaughter unit for chickens.
It's very much needed.
Yes, yes. So, all right. Thank you. And thank you for this session. It's awesome.
Thanks, Jody.
All right, I see there are a good number of people still online. So if any of you all have questions, feel free to raise your hand, add them to the chat. And Jeffrey, I see that your hand is still up. And just also want to, again, direct you to our email, northeastrfbc@nasa.org. If you have any additional questions, you forgot one, or, a specific question related to your farm or your business, feel free to reach out to us over there as well. Jana.
The last thing I would also mention, when you get into the application phase and start filling it out in the grant management portal, which is called Flux, if you have any questions about the application itself and having any technical issues, we do have our application builder on the call, and so she will join us on all of these calls. So if you have specific questions for her, I want to make sure that you have receive answers to those questions.
And I see the question about location of this recording. So on the Business Builder subaward page, which you should have been able to get to register for the session, we'll be switching, instead of register for the information, it will be see the recording session. So it will be under that information session section. And as a reminder, our next session will be March 11th. So next Tuesday, come with your questions. And as Jana just said, doesn't just have to be about eligibility. As you work through your applications, if you have any technical questions, feel free to ask them here as well. So with that, and seeing no other questions, we'll end the session for today, but thank you for joining, and good luck with your applications.
Thank you.